Cameroon. A beautiful country with lots of different cultures. But there's a big problem hidden underneath. This is the story of a group of people, the Anglophone Cameroonians, who feel left out, unimportant and silenced. Their voice? The Ambazonian movement. This struggle has been going on for a long time, starting when Cameroon became a country. Colonialism and forced unions left a scar that never healed. For many years, Anglophone Cameroonians complained. They talked about being forced to give up their culture and not having equal opportunities. No one listened. In 2016, lawyers and teachers, important people in their community, protested in the streets. Peaceful protests were met with violence. Everyone watched as the two groups of people grew further apart. The Ambazonian movement was born from this sadness. They desperately wanted to control their own future. This movement is driven by the pain of the past and the hope for a better future. September 24th, 2024, Oslo, Norway. A city known for peace talks became a place of drama. The arrest of an important Ambazonian leader shocked the world. No one officially knows who it is, but people think it's Ayaba Cho Lucas, the leader of the Ambazonian Defense Forces. He's accused of encouraging crimes against humanity. This is a very serious charge and could change things in the future. Cameroon stayed quiet, but its silence said a lot. The arrest started many arguments. Ambazonian supporters said it was unfair and that the Cameroonian government was behind it. Others thought it was a good sign, that the world was finally paying attention to the conflict. No matter what happens, this arrest has changed the Ambazonian struggle forever. December was a month of mixed feelings. It was a time of both celebration and sadness. For Ambazonians, December is when they declared their independence. The world doesn't recognize it, but these people really want to govern themselves. Across the Anglophone regions and in other countries, Ambazonians raise their flag. Blue and white stripes with a single gold star represent the country they hope for. They met in houses, community centers, and secret places, even though they were afraid. They sang songs about freedom, even though the world stayed silent. The celebrations showed how strong and hopeful they are, but they also knew the fighting was still happening, hurting people and families. The celebrations showed their spirit, but also reminded them of the long, hard journey ahead. The biggest question in the Ambazonian struggle is, what does it mean to be Ambazonian? For years, other people told them who they were. They were told they were Cameroonians and their Anglophone background wasn't important. But the Ambazonian movement is changing that. They are remembering their history, their language, their culture. They are refusing to be forced to change who they are. This is shown through language. English, once used to control them, is now a symbol of their fight. They use it for protests, meetings, and their dreams. The Ambazonian movement isn't just about making their own rules, it's about keeping their culture alive. It's about making sure their children know their history. It's about the right to choose who they are. Everyone wants to be free. It's wanting to live without being controlled, to make your own choices. For Ambazonians, this desire has been met with violence and silence. They want autonomy, not to leave the world, but to be a part of it in their own way. They want to be heard and to use their resources to help their people. International law says they have the right to choose their own government and how they live. They are not trying to change the map. They are trying to take back their lives. They want to be educated in their own language, use their resources, and live with respect in their own land. The fighting in the Anglophone regions is often called a silent war. The world doesn't hear much about it, but it's very bad. Behind the numbers and speeches are broken lives and lost dreams. Thousands have died. Some people escaped to Nigeria, others had to leave their homes but stayed in Cameroon. Villages are empty, quiet reminders of what happened. This conflict is especially hard on women and children. They are the weakest and suffer the most. There are stories of sexual violence, child soldiers and families being separated. You can see the physical injuries, but the emotional pain is worse. Children are growing up with violence, unable to go to school, and with no clear future. It will take many years to recover from this conflict. The world hasn't done much about the Anglophone crisis. Some countries don't want to get involved and just suggest talking. Others support the Cameroonian government because they see the Ambazonians as dangerous. This mixed reaction makes Ambazonians feel frustrated and alone. Human rights groups are speaking up about the violence and want it to stop, but no one is listening. The recent arrest of the Ambazonian leader in Norway changes things. We don't know if this means the world will finally do something, but we do know that things cannot stay the same. The world can't ignore this crisis anymore. To understand this conflict, we must look back in time. The problem started a long time ago when colonialism was ending. Cameroon, once ruled by Britain and France, became one country in 1961, but it wasn't a fair union. The Anglophone minority was treated like they weren't important. Their laws, schools, and way of life slowly disappeared. Years of neglect and being forced to change made them angry. They felt like strangers in their own country, and no one cared about their problems. This crisis isn't new. It's the result of many years of ignored complaints. It shows that old problems can last a long time if we don't fix them. No one knows what will happen to Ambazonia. The future is unclear. The arrest of their leader could be important, but we don't know if it's good or bad. Will it make the world pay attention and force everyone to talk? Or will it make the fighting worse? The Ambazonian people are not giving up. They still want to control their own future, and they are speaking louder every day. They know freedom is something you fight for, not something you are given. The world is watching and waiting. Will there be more violence, or will there be peace and justice in Africa? Only time will tell.